Hey, everybody. Welcome to Life After Death and Beyond. I'm James Van Praagh. Thank you for joining me. And I'm here with my good friend, Kellee White. Hello, Kellee White.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody. How
Hi,
are
everyone.
you
It's
doing?
been a long time, it seems like.
It's been 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. Yes, it's been quite a time. Lots been going on. And
Why don't you share a few things that have been going on with you?
Well, when at the end of my flu,
Yeah.
when I went to the urgent care twice and put me on prednisone, and a lot of people are being knocked down with this flu.
Yeah.
It's a tough.
It's a mighty flu.
It's a mighty flu,
Mm-hmm.
and it reminds me of when I had COVID 4 times. It reminds me, kind of, it brings that back up, all that stuff.
You bet.
So it's an interesting one. It's a very strong one. And then my brother passed away 2 weeks ago.
I know. I mean, you have not had a break, James.
No, so I'm having a cup of tea with ginger. So my coffee. Yeah. So and that was the easy part.
Sorry, Michael. That was easy.
That was easy. You didn't think about it. It was easy because he was suffering for a long time. And people suffer in that body for long. The body starts shutting down and not working. You know, it's and he was so suffering. You know, so much of that could be karma. You know, there's certain, like you mentioned it to me with him, it could be karma.
You bet.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So and the funeral was very interesting. We had a little I don't know what we'd call a visitation, but it was closed coffin, thank God. And a lot of my people from my childhood came there. And
what was that like?
From grade school, from my Catholic school upbringing.
Yikes.
It was very strange. Very strange. A couple of I wouldn't know. I usually jump up to everybody because I told them who I was. It was like I was jumping up these big lugs. And it was fun. It was people from his AA he went to for many years, 12 years. Yeah, he worked as a stagehand at Broadway. So we had the presidents of the unions there from Broadway.
Wow.
And then he had his grade school people there, people from grade school. And I knew them. I knew a lot of the stage hands I worked with on Broadway when I was a stagehand with him. I was in the space there. And it was interesting. And to see how people live life and how they age and what's important to people as they get older. And people were saying to me, I'm very sorry for your loss. And of course, that's a normal, natural thing to say. But inside, I was like, why are they? That sounds so weird to me. Why are they? Because I know he's free and happy and he's out of it. He's out of the body. And I just know that he's thrilled, out of there. Because he kept on coming to me beforehand when he was, as you know this, when he was dying, I should say, and would say, get me out of here, get me out of here. And my sister did the same too, by the way, who died less than 2 years ago. So,
which is amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. So, but it's interesting. It's interesting. I think funerals or deaths and births bring people together in strange, weird ways. And you see the best of people.
I used to get them mixed up. Sometimes I would say I was going to a wedding when I was going to a funeral. Honest to God, I'd get them mixed up. You can see how that would happen.
Great.
So tell us, have you seen Michael? Have you felt?
So I've seen Michael. Yes, I've seen him quite a bit. Let's see. The different times I've seen him. So it's been 2 weeks. So it goes into that space of, he's here. It's not like I'm standing right in front of you. Here I am. It's more of my thoughts that come to me very clearly, and I know his personality. And he comes to me even stronger than my sister did. So that's very interesting. And he said, one of the things he said when I was, and it's very interesting when you do mediumship, everybody, it's really when your mind is really relaxed that you get the information because you give space to spirit to come in and they can use your mind and come in that way. And that's what he did. I was walking Pearl, my doggy, up this path, and he came through to me. He said, James, he said to me, you always do the right thing and you do it in a good way or something like that.
Oh.
And he said, you taught me that. He said, from when he first passed out of the body, he was observing me. And he said that very clearly. You always you do a good job, you do the right thing, something like that. I was like, oh, thank you. He goes, and he really was apologizing, saying, I'm sorry for, and I said, stop, I forgive you for anything. I know we're here to learn, and these are lessons we're learning, and I want your life for you, as we talked about tonight, to be an easy one with me because I forgive you. And, and he said to me, he goes, we all, it's a tough time because he goes, I'm still getting used to the time thing, but you really helped with your knowledge, or it was more of a thought, awareness or knowledge of this world after life after this world. And he said that really helped him and to understand it quicker. And he said, he goes, really important that people understand that everything matters, that their thoughts he said, thoughts are particulars of being. Your thoughts are your particulars of being. He said, you've got to be responsible for your thoughts because it'll create your next atmosphere. We've talked about
Yes, we sure have.
language. So that was really interesting. And I could tell there's this aspect of his higher self, this wise being himself. And I was teaching here on Zoom a week ago, I guess it was, and I was teaching, I think, mediumship techniques in my school. And as I'm talking to people and working, that's what I was doing. And then I finished, I got up from my desk, and I see him very clearly walking out in front of me with his back to me, and he was wearing like a violet-colored suit, jacket, and pants. And he was walking out in front, and I knew that the guides brought him in to observe me teaching because he'd never seen that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was really interesting. And he's been through groups, he's different groups of people that he knew in the life, and different groups, that he knew in different places. And he's talking to them about what it's like on the other side, what it's like life there. And it's very interesting. It reminded me, and it's always a multi-layered experience, as you know. But, when you're in it, like I am here, it would remind me, and I try to get as much as I can because I'm so into this, but it reminded me also of cleaning off like an old candlestick that's tarnished silver, and you take a cloth and you rub it off, and you make it silver again. Yeah. That's kind of what it's like when he comes to the other side. He's to shine that old body again, and it shines again. And the time on the earth kind of, puts that dirt and debris and on that. It takes away it gives it that dullness. And when you leave the body, you get to this, that shyness comes back, if you will.
They talk about almost like an eternal shower that you take when you pass. It's that kind of energy that knocks all that stuff off. And that you said you saw him in a violet suit.
Violet suit. It was like a suit.
Highly advanced color.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting because I was able to tell. It was so interesting with him because I guess we have many lifetimes, but I was able to tell the different levels of awareness of him, like the soul body, the mind body, the emotional body. I could tell the human body, the physical. He wasn't very proud of a lot of that, but a lot of that occurred because of other lifetimes or other ways of thinking or genetics. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons why. But I think that as he's pushing that, and I know he's here right now talking to me, so it's like, okay, thanks. That your awareness that you have, and we talk about life review, and I asked him about that. I said, if you had your life review, he said, I'm going through it. And then my sister had come through and said, he's not available. And I said, where is he? Because I've showed him around, but he's on his own now, but he's having his wasn't review, is like review or assessment. And she said, and he's off, and then he was off in his slumber. It was a space that couldn't speak because he was resting. And it was like he was resting. And we tend to do that with Passover, depending on our passing of leaving the body. If it pulls the life force out of us. Yeah. Anytime we have to rest up and bring that back in, there's a rest state, if you will. So he had that, and then he's just but he understood things quicker because of the work that I do, that he's been around it, so he knew about things. So it was very interesting. But it was really pushing myself about the life review like tonight, that when we first get out of the body, and I said to Kellee before we started, this came to me when I was pouring my tea. This flu was like, oh my God, is this going to get me out of the body? And I was like, well, that's an interesting way of putting it. And to me, it just says the passing on feels weird. That was saying passing, because we're not passing, we go out. We just pop out of the body. So that made sense to me. And he kept on saying, you constantly have to be aware, as we're going to talk about tonight, your life review. So when he had his life review, and he said it's still going on in smaller, it's a kind of a major thing. And because there's no time, of course, hard for us to relate because that's outside. But there are some major life moments in your life, choices that you make, incredible times in your life. And he goes, and then it goes down to these little moments in your life and what you think about, things you did, kind of secondary or thirdly that you've done that you didn't realize you were doing, or things that you were saying, or how to treat someone. So there's that major life review. And then there's this little parts afterwards, and it seems like it's going on. That
it's a process. It sounds like
it's a process, exactly. And what have you heard about life review on the other side, Kellee?
Oh my gosh, I started working with life reviews sometime. As soon as I started as a medium, the souls would tell me that they on the other side. I would say, what are you doing? Well, first we go to a life review. So for me, a life review is a time where you visit key moments in life. And as you just said, I mean, there might be first they might be the larger moments in life, the bigger things that have happened, like your actions or your choices, and then the impact of others from your, that the choices that you made. But you do this not as a punishment and not as a judgment, but you do this as the chance to grow deeper, to have a deeper understanding, to have an acceptance, to have spiritual growth, personal growth. And it's always the ones that I have seen are always with some spiritual guidance, with whether usually there are spirit guides, actually.
That's right. It's a compassionate being.
Totally compassionate. Yeah.
And something which is really important, I learned this when I did this work, and also working with Dr. Brian Weiss, past life regressions. And we this came up quite a bit in the regressions and the works we did, that when people have their life review on the other side of life, remember, everybody, that's a multi-sensory experience, and that we're all connected as one being. So if you were in a bad mood one day, you yelled at someone, they got upset. I always use this analogy because I think it's great. If you go into a shop, let's say, and you're in a bad mood, and you yell at the clerk, who then yells at a coworker, and they get upset, and they go home and yell at a family member. When you have your life review, you become aware of that one thought, the one word, and you become that clerk. You feel how they felt 10 times, 20 times, 30 times stronger than the original act. And then you become aware of the other person, how they felt, and it's like waves of those particulars that you created with your thoughts, your words, and your deeds. And you have to then forgive yourself for creating all of those waves of energy. And think about it, everybody. It's called the rippling effect, how it's changed that person's energy, that person, and how it changes them. And that's why it's a great equalizer if we could do that now in body. And I was just saying to Kellee beforehand, if people in political arenas and countries or positions of power would realize there is a life for you, that you're responsible for everything you think, do, and say, because it doesn't leave us. As my brother said, they're particulars of being. And that's exactly what we create. And we are creative beings. We're souls and constantly creating.
Well, James, it's an energy that comes out of that. It's an energy, and then the energy starts to go out, and then you're following
that vibration of that energy, right?
Absolutely.
Love, fear, judgment, limitation.
Yeah, all of that.
So if they could have that now in body, where they have a life review presently while they're still in the body, which is becoming very, very popular. And I think if everybody was more aware and responsible of their thoughts, how they treat people, how it affected somebody, because this is interesting. When, there's experiments done years ago, scientists with flowers and plants, when they didn't give any attention to one, but they gave all the attention to the other one, and the other one, the one that they gave the love to, it thrived, and the one that didn't died off. And it's this energy, it's what you give out. So tell me about your work with current people with life review while in the body.
Oh, I will. And how this came to me is I have a wonderful client and dear friend. Her name is Vicky. And I love you, Vicky. She's a wonderful person. And her husband passed away, and it put her in a different kind of a state, a different type of energy state, if you will. And she found herself going through these deep memories of situations in life that had presented themselves that maybe were not all that fun to look at, but just, really intense. Some of them were very intense. And as she was telling me about these different life experiences, I said, my God, you're having a life review here on earth at this time. And she said, that's what it feels like. And then after her, I had 2 or 3 other people say to me that they were doing a life review on earth as it is now. And so if you can do that now and look at your life and look at some of these experiences that, listen, all of us on earth, give yourself a break. Everybody is going to have challenging times on earth. We're going to have some really amazing times, and we're going to have those really difficult, challenging times. And those are the ones that you have to have empathy and compassion for what you've gone through too. So if you can look at this stuff now, it would really be an amazing thing for your soul to be able to review, to let go. Because, James, before I forget, just so you know, there have been psychological studies on this.
Oh, tell us more about
There was a study in 2016, so not that long ago, by Butler and Cherokee. And they conducted this longitudinal study, and they found out that individuals who engaged in a structured life review process actually reported increased satisfaction and a greater sense of purpose in their later years. And here's the other thing that makes this so amazing, that even in the act of reminiscing, now we tend to reminisce about some really positive things, which is a great way to open the door for this too. But what happens is when we do this, it releases endorphins and it
Yes.
releases dopamine, and it helps us feel better. And it gives us a more positive outlook to look at.
Yes, it's very, very true. Very, very true. I mean, I get that from my doggies, you know, for that unconditional love. Yeah, it's so, so true. And what does that do, having that life review and currently when we're in the body? Well, it will teach us responsibility. It brings us a sense of awareness and mindfulness that how we treat another human, how we treat an animal, how we treat somebody with thoughts, words, and deeds. And as I've been practicing it because we're here in school learning, as you said. So everybody, we're learning lessons. You can't always get it in one lifetime. And as Kellee said, empathy is really important. But realize that what you give out is, and how the conditions of your mind or the particulars of being, as you're sending forth, you are creating your heaven or hell. So when you pass over, you will have the atmosphere you've created based upon your thoughts, words, and your deeds. And someone asks, do you feel sad? You do feel sad in that, I wish I could have passed that test. Why did I use fear instead of love?
Yes.
Why did I use judgment instead of compassion? And those are the things you learn. But everybody, we're giving you a break right now, because if you're I always say this to people for the many, many years, now you have an understanding of how you need to treat people, how you need to respect people. So when you pass over and you have your life review, it's like, yeah, I didn't know that. Don't say to your guys who didn't know that, because they're going to say, well, that's not true because James Van Praagh and Kellee White told you that in 2025. So now you have responsibility. You have responsibility. So, sorry, everybody, but
it's so true, James, because we're really giving everybody an opportunity for consciousness right now to wake up, you know, having a state of awareness. But it's an amazing thing to do a spiritual life review. And it's simply this, everybody. It's simply you take time to deeply reflect on your life. And the things you want to reflect on are the following: experiences. What are your experiences in life? So you want to maybe make a journal or something and write down, you know, my experiences. The second thing you want to do is you want to examine, and this is really important, your choices. Now, sometimes we have, first of all, on earth, we're all going to make ridiculously bad choices, but that's why we come here. So don't, it's not to blame yourself. Why did I marry this guy? And believe me, I read my book.
And it's those family units that were set up beforehand. So it gives us those opportunities of how we're going to handle this situation.
Exactly. And remember, we have free will and then we have destiny. We have free will and destiny here. Right. So some things are just destined to happen, and some things we have free will over. So again, you want to look at your experiences. You want to examine your choices. Another thing you want to do is look at your relationships. Look at your relationships. Now, with peace and love, I mean this. You can have the most horrific relationships and still get to a place of deep understanding, maybe looking at their trauma, looking at your trauma, why you came together. There are all kinds of things that you can do when you look at relationships. And another one is you want to look at, and I think they're all really important, but look at the major events in your life. Like the major events. Like for me, I can say, I had a head injury. That was a major event. And in that time period, everything in my life changed. And I mean, really.
Well, your book, Kellee, was life review, for God's sake.
My book was life review. I thought about that today. I'm glad you said that. I thought about that today.
It's really true. Your book is a life review in itself.
Thank you. And that's why I want everybody to have an understanding of what a life review is, because you're using a spiritual lens here. You're not using a lens of judgment. You're using a spiritual lens. It's very different. And the goal here is to understand for your personal growth, for identifying maybe areas of improvement. How's that? That would be a good thing. And then also gaining a deeper sense of your purpose in life and the meaning of life. So these are the reasons you want to start doing something like this now. And this is not an overnight thing. This is a process.
Exactly. It's a process. And don't beat yourself up. I see Eric wrote here. He's not looking forward to his life review. You know, it's the learning experience down here. And we're not going to pass tests all the time. But now we have the awareness now. Yes. Now we can start making better choices that are in alignment with our soul self, our higher self.
That's it. It's getting in alignment, James. That's the whole thing. That's
And I
amazing.
wrote down a couple of things when you were saying, because my brother came through and said something which I wanted, and I'm glad it just brought it back to me. We come back here for the upliftment of humankind.
Oh, I love
We come
that.
back here for the upliftment of humankind, and we can do our piece to uplift humankind. And we don't want to blame anybody else. The blame game doesn't work. We got to take responsibility for how we treat another person, and do it. Now you can start now treating someone much better, make someone's life better than it was. By
And I
meeting you, that's gonna be it.
I have to bring this up too, that your brother Michael, it's because your brother Michael,
That's right.
because of him, that we're
Yeah.
all here having this discussion right now. Not
Correct.
because he just passed, but because he brought us ultimately together, James.
This is correct. You want to explain that to everybody?
Because James's brother Michael, who I did adore, he was Michael, but I just adored him. Listen, I adored him, and he was Michael, and he was very authentic. But he was working on Broadway, worked on Broadway, and James and I have a mutual friend that worked on Broadway, who saw your brother's last name and said, do you know James Van Praagh? And he said, he's my brother. Would you like to meet him? So that's how you met this person, who shall remain nameless. And then I knew this person really well. But it was your brother.
We got together, and I was on a cruise in Europe in the waters of Italy or something. And I think what did I say to you? I'll do a reading for you.
You called me and you said we talked for an hour because I needed a lot of help. I was, I was reeling Pluto. I had seen a lot of dead people and I did not know what to do with it. And I said to my mother, the only person that can help me is James Van Praagh. He's the only one that will get what's going on with me. And you were.
And we had mutual friends. Your mother and I knew the same people.
Same people.
And
that's how it all came together. But it was because of Michael ultimately. And I have to give him total props on that. I mean, I appreciate that he's in Violet now.
Well, he brings a lot of people together. And his son, in the obituary, his son wrote, which was incredible, and one of the best eulogies ever, I'd like to say. He said in the obituary, he goes, my father had a knack of meeting people on the sidewalk in Times Square, and he'd chat anybody up and find a story with them.
Totally. That's amazing. That was.
They called him Mr. Broadway. Yeah.
But that makes so much sense.
That makes sense. Yeah. The longest working stagehand in the history of Broadway. 50
Which
years.
is extraordinary, really.
And my father was a stageman. My grandfather helped build the Winter Garden Theater. I was working at his funeral. Old stagehands would come say, James, or Jamie, they call me. And I was like, I go, Eddie, you remember? Oh, Eddie, yes, we did the fly floor together for Greece. And I remember all these old stagehands. I was like, wow, it's just such a wild. And this is a great one. So there's these photographs of my brother, and I'm looking at this board next to the flowers. And your flowers are beautiful, by the way, Kellee. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Beautiful. And I'm looking at these photographs from some that I gave, and we had old photographs, new photographs. And I'm there, and all of a sudden this man comes next to me. He's a really well-dressed gentleman in a nice camel suit, coat, because it was cold. And we're standing there, and we're not looking at each other at all. We're just looking at the photographs. And he said to me, just as we're looking at photographs, I used to work with your father, And I said, He goes, yeah, I was working over at the Imperial. And I said, yeah, I remember you. I just live in the corner of I worked at the Royale right across the street. I used to bring your check over to you every Wednesday for salary. And I was working on the show Greece. You were working on Pip. And he goes, yes. And I said, and there was people that named some people. And he goes, well, things have changed quite a bit now. And he goes, yeah, that brother and sisterhood is not the same anymore. Things have changed. He goes, but your father and your brother, great people. And thank you for being great. And he went his way. I went my way. We're not even looking at each other.
That's hysterical.
So interesting. And I love to observe people anyway. So when I go to a funeral home, of course, and I'm walking the door, I'm thinking, this is so old, this, archaic, this whole funeral thing. The head of the funeral home, whatever they call him, said, James, I worked with your dad. I did your dad's funeral. I said, oh, okay, thank you.
Wow, he's been around a while.
And then it's interesting because it's an old, these funeral homes to me, it's just an old concept. But people say, do you see dead people there? I'm like, no, I really don't. But what I do is I observe a lot of the living people and I observe their behaviors. And I just love to sit back. Don't you, Kellee, love to sit back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I saw my brother many times, his body, spirit body there. My whole family in spirit were around, and they knew I could see them. But I didn't have a
Yeah.
conversation with them, but they knew that I was aware of them being there.
I was at a funeral once and I watched the spirit who had passed go around giving everybody hugs. It was
Yeah.
really a sweet, sweet moment to observe.
Isn't that great?
It's really sweet. They never miss their funerals or their
They never ever
memorials.
miss
They
their
love it.
funerals. And usually the women always look at the flowers, who's the flowers, and of course the men are like, who's paying for this, this sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny, and there's such a difference with certain people because they're so some of them are so shocked that they're so natural, and they're not dead. They can say, "I'm not dead. There is no death." I know.
Because they just leave the body effortlessly.
It's just you go out. You just go out.
You
Like
just
every
go
night
out.
we go out. We leave a body every night. Now this is very interesting, Kelly White.
Okay.
Everybody. So Kelly and I sit here and write things down all the time. And I had this notebook. I'm gonna just right before we went on, and I looked at it. It said, "Be kind, and spread happiness to all."
Oh, I love that.
So then
I
I
love
opened it. And I guess this was channeled. So I'm going to read you what I just opened to. It said, "James, I want to help teach and showing beings about the shadow worlds and to reach them. It's sad, but to reach them. You sparkle, you bright, bring life to all." Oh, I think this is Caroline. "You bring life to all you meet. We need to make sure the world is happier, kinder, more compassionate, and understanding. Here there are those who have lost their sense of self and are completely misguided. Darkness is ignorance. Ignorance is darkness. There are great halls here, structures of any type of structure you want. You feel a connection with, and thank God their life review. They're hopefully ones of beauty. They've created them with how they live their lives. Things that they've forgotten over the many there's an otherworldly forgiveness which takes place. I've seen all and everyone from the past, present, and currently. And God resonates, that the word God resonates as a loving energy everywhere. I had a hard time writing. Thoughts to everyone should be create a happiness within yourself and the world in your life. Love wins, only love."
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's from Carolyn?
I think it's from Carolyn.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes on and on. It's like pages of stuff, but it's about love, and the great difference in the world is rarely seen. But trust me, tell them all to not be so hard on themselves.
Right.
Don't hurt themselves, but everyone be happy. Joy to be where you are has brought you here and touched your heart. And that's it. Many prepare a stunning place for you when you come over here with waterfalls and gardens, flowers of delight and splendor, and colors of majesty, extremely sublime. And anyway, it goes on, but that's interesting. Eh?
Wow.
I just opened it up.
And it was something about when people walking around in the dark. I mean, I think the reason that it's important to have an awareness of a life review is it starts to wake you up. So you're not walking around in the dark.
Yes, and you're not
making unconscious choices and doing dumbass things. Like
ignorance is darkness. Ignorance is darkness and fear.
Right?
And it's like it's walking that quicksand. It's like
probably
good. Like you don't be sticky. You don't be stuck.
Yes.
You fly and be free and be happy and joyful. And so create that by how you choose things on this earth right now.
And that there, listen, we've all done bad things. Everybody has done a bad thing, or 2 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is. And so don't hold that to the thought of, I can never then, even look at any of the things. You actually can. Be gentle on yourself, be kind to yourself. You can. And if you need help with it, what often helps is a good therapist actually will help you understand some of your actions. And that actually helps too.
Yeah. I have a therapist I go to, and I'm thinking I started doing the therapy. What I'm doing? Wait a minute, I'm doing this.
Well, that's true.
I think also that sense of compassion, with passion, is really important.
You bet.
That we start having, and also I think, as we talked about earlier, Kelly, I know from my own personal experience that I've been through, non-judgment. So let's say you have a partner, like I had a partner and judged that, and I realized, you know what, and everyday people every once in a while, I thank God I don't do it as much as I used to when I was younger and was unaware, but I don't tend to judge people anymore. I tend to see what they're going to teach me. And I try to put myself in their shoes because you don't know anyone until you walk around in their shoes for a while. And it's so true. You don't know what their background is. You don't know where they've come from. They might have very difficult, hard backgrounds. And who are we to judge another's experience?
Do you think it's because you're older?
I think there's a little bit to do with that, without a doubt. I think living life, no doubt about it. It helps. I think it's a cumulative of life experiences, age, wisdom, understanding, taking the chance to just jump in and try to see what's next, having that sense of art of discovery, if you will, like discovering what's new. You know, as a soul, we're always growing. And I see every day there are opportunities of growth and happiness. So I try to bring that awareness of love and happiness because it's such a limited world. We're experiencing it. But our souls are universal. Our souls are limitless. Right. So we can choose love or fear. And fear, the more I live, fear is so limiting, and that limiting belief systems.
Right.
Many religions too. It's just so limiting. When I was in church for my brother's funeral, I went to a mass.
Wow, what was that like for you?
Well, it's very interesting because the nun on the stage, on the altar, very interesting.
The nun on the stage.
And she was there for my father's funeral. For 50 years, she worked this church. And I knew when she was helping my dad with Meals on Wheels and so forth. So as I came into church, my sister, and we're in the first row, I see this sister, Catherine, there. And I looked at her and she said, like, hello. And I went, and I said, like this, my heart. And she went like that as well. And kind, lovely soul. Sweet. And they had a priest, Monsignor, who was a blowhard. Sorry, it's the best way to say it. He knew nothing about my brother. He was just regurgitating this stuff. I was like, and it's just, and that's his experience. I don't know, but it was like, wow. I mean, it's just so archaic in some ways.
And limiting.
But you're standing up to think you know things, and it's like, So he said, if I could go back to the womb of a child, the soul of the baby, and they're in the womb of the mother, what would I tell them? I'm like, huh? What is this guy telling? So weird. It's weird. And another perspective I had was when I was a little kid raised in the Catholic Church, and I had to go to church every day and stand and stare at this stage, the altar. And in my day, they had Latin masses, and their backs were to you. So, but I remember there was this big, beautiful mural of Jesus Christ, right? And beautiful gold and silver, and it was beautiful. The whole stage, the place, the wall. And that was a mosaic. It was really well done. And this time I went back. I haven't been back in a while. And then when I was a kid, I always think, wow, I was always afraid of that. It always made me like, oh, I'm fearful. I'm like, oh, it's so big and menacing. And then, of course, now I went back and I'm like, how much money did they spend on that? For gold plates? Like, look at the marble here. Are you kidding? I was like, James, it's just, but it's like almost like stuck in time. From my experience, it's kind of stuck in time. And I wish people would just think for themselves. I think it's a good guidance for people. But yeah, it's limiting belief systems in some ways.
Yeah, it does. And if anybody decides to go back and to start this process of a life review, don't let anything limit you. Like, for instance, if you feel guilty, listen, guilt is it's unnecessary unless you've really done great harm to somebody. But even then, look back and start reflecting on yourself. What was going on in your life? What was going on in the other person's life? What's going on in you now? And then literally you can work through everything. Don't you think, James?
Yeah. And also, Kelly, I very much so. And also, don't play the blame game. Right. Don't blame somebody else for your situation. Take responsibility. Yeah. You say, well, my husband made me this. Oh, yeah, my friend made this. It's not them, it's you. You have to take full responsibility. Right. And when you do take responsibility, you have a sense of more control of your life. You really do feel
so
more
true, James.
And it changes the vibration. It changes your awareness. Yeah. It changes everything. I think, part of it is as you get older, Kelly, but I think you can do it in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and never.
Oh, yeah.
No time to do it.
And one of the things that I think is really important to do when you do a life review is identify patterns. Look at patterns and themes. Really important. Look at that. Look for reoccurring patterns in your thoughts and in your actions and in your experiences, so you can understand the beliefs and the motivations. You want to be able to look at all of these kind of things. And then you want to do this, it's forgive and then release. We talk about that a lot. What do you think of forgiveness, James?
That's just one of the highest spiritual traits there is. It just brings so much. It's free. I think forgiveness brings the vibration up. I really do. I think it just brings it right up. One thing you mentioned, Kelly, which I'd like to point out too, is, as you said, you'll see patterns which repeat itself. When I started doing this and in life review and being more conscious and aware of certain behaviors or patterns, things, it brought me in the past lives. So I saw various past lives, the same situation was there, and I chose this way or that way in several lifetimes. So it helps you to assess or access those past life experiences of the soul worksheet, I guess, soul blueprint, and things that you're learning.
I was just thinking about with your relationship with Michael. Do you think in this particular lifetime there was so much forgiveness and love and kindness that you had that could have come in from past lifetimes with
100%.
him?
So when we talked about him and I had thoughts about this as he's out of the body, and it was always past lives, a lot of past lives.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Monastic past lives and different ways of being. And he said to me, "You've always chosen the good way. You've always done the right. You've always done the right thing in the good way." But he said, and when he said you've always done that, it felt like not only in this lifetime, but how I look at things. And now listen, I'm sure I was horrible in the lifetime as well, because we take on these different traits and personalities. But I think it was really interesting because when he came to talk to me, it was more of a multi-lifetime sensory awareness of the soul to soul connection. And everybody can have that with your loved one. And you ask to come in, just be surrendering and be aware of the connection that you have, that multi-connection. And you don't think about it, you got to feel it, really. That's the way I can describe it.
So let's talk about that for a second. If there is something that is holding you back from a life review because somebody has passed or on the other side and you need to talk to them, but I don't know, but how should somebody proceed with that, James?
Well, I've given this to a lot of people and students and people grieving process. The number one way I would do it, and I tell people this all the time, is write a letter. Write a letter to them.
That's a great idea.
Sit down, write a letter to them, and let everything out of your heart, not in your head. Don't think it, feel your way through it, and just write it down. And you'll know, it's almost like automatic writing. You'll know when you sit there with the intention of writing a letter to them, you write their name, dear so-and-so, and write how you're feeling, and maybe things you've done that you're not proud of, but this is someone's passed in the spirit, right? And then what I tell people to do is fold up that letter, put it in an envelope, then put it maybe away in a drawer or something. But on your calendar, write down, like in a week's time, a certain particular date and time. And then you're going to do is you're going to sit again with another piece of paper, and you're going to write it from, you're just going to relax yourself, put yourself in a nice altered state by deep breathing. You said the 4 and 4, Kelly?
Box four times. 4, you breathe, hold your breath for 4, you breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, release it for 4. It's box breathing.
Box, it's the best. It's the best. And after you're in that space, after the box breathing, altered state, you sit with that pen and you are going to write a letter from them to you. It works. It works. It works. And don't think about it. Just let your heart write it. They're going to write through you in your heart. And it works. It frees up so much. And there's such an understanding people receive from the point of view perspective from the spirit person.
And think about how much energy then you will have, as opposed to holding on to, all of these situations that we come to Earth. We're going to have situations. We just are. It's part of the reason we come to Earth.
But the blame game too, Kelly, is something here in my head here. It's a big one for humans to get rid of that blame. Stop. Yeah. I like that. Rochelle's, my energy is at 0. It really sucks. Well, then you got to start loving yourself. Love is the energy that brings it up. And even when you're feeling like I've been feeling the flu, so I've been but I do try to find the positive, even when I'm down. And I'm like, I try to see that, you know what? I have life here. There are wonderful people in my life, Kelly being one of them. There are lovely things I have, like a garden and flowers, and I appreciate the little things, not the big things. It's the little things. And I love how I change people's lives, how you make a difference in people's lives. And that's really the good one. That'll bring your energy right up when you look back and see the difference you've made in someone's life. And like I said this all the time, I said earlier, be proud of the life you've lived. When you meet somebody every day, change their life for the better. Make sure that their life is better because they met you for that second, that minute, that time they spent, that their life is a little bit better because they met you.
That would actually be in a life review too, because the positive things show up too. We're not just talking about the negative things, but positive things show up too.
Oh yeah, and you can celebrate it. You celebrate yourself for doing those positive things. And it's not those. The spirit always says it's not those big grandiose motions of things and giving money to an organization. It's the little kindnesses that we do. My friend Olivia, when she passed over, and we used to sit in development circles all the time, and she came back and she actually left her body of her own choosing. And I said, well, was there any problem with that, with completing suicide? She goes, oh, God, no. If I knew how great it was, I would have left earlier. I'm like, okay. She was in her 80s at the time.
Yeah.
And she said, when people that came to meet me, she said, it was so strange. She said, it wasn't the people I'd expect. I had my family there, but all these people I opened the door for. I had a kind word for. I gave some money to them on the street, or I said something nice to them on the telephone. Those are the people that come to thank you for your little acts of kindness.
Wow. Isn't that lovely? Because then what happens is the energy goes out, it reverberates out. The positive, just like the negative could reverberate out, but the positive can as well, which is so extraordinary.
Yeah, upliftment.
And for people that don't understand what a life review is, again, it's really looking at your life from the lens of spirituality. What has your life been like? What have you gone through? What have you experienced? Things that you can release, any of the negative things that you can release. So you're just looking at your life. Why did you come to Earth to begin with? And then it also helps with that. Why did you come?
And also, Kellee, when you say release things, I find it very good if someone, I of course like to write, so I like pads, but when release something and ask yourself, why am I holding on to this? What purpose is this serving me? That I'm holding on to this. Why did I choose to hold on for so long? When I could have had this freedom, letting this go years ago, why am I still holding on to this? What purpose is it serving me?
100%. And the other thing with that is some people don't even realize that they're holding on to something that their mother said or their father said when they were 6. Yes. And they still can't let go of that. And it's like, okay, so let's go back.
Kellee becomes unconscious then, right? It becomes unconscious.
Yeah. And then they act it out. Yeah, then they act out everything. And they don't know why they're acting out until they stop and go inward. And even though that this time on Earth is the most chaos that we have seen, and it will just continue to have more chaos. I say this because
I've been born for sure. Since I've been born, it's most chaos.
My gosh, right? But but it's the best time to go internally. It's the best time to go within. So really think about what James and I are talking about with doing a life review. It just means looking at your life with a consciousness, with a lens of spirituality, with a lens of kindness and emotional, compassion. Yeah.
And it's important that someone just asks about forgiveness. So if someone has passed, needs your forgiveness, then should I write them a letter? Yes, write them a letter or send thoughts of love. And maybe they weren't, like I said before about judgment. Why do we hold on to those people that pass over? They did the wrong thing. We have to look and try to take the higher road, less traveled.
Yes, the higher road, less traveled.
That was said by our mutual friend who told me that many years ago. Yeah, take the higher road, less traveled. And it's true. That. And so you can forgive them because, maybe they didn't know any better. We don't know any better. You got to forgive them. Give them, break because they might not have known at the time. So you can always forgive with your thoughts, with your love. And because they do Kellee and I do with this every day with people that come back from the spirit world. Say, I'm really sorry I didn't love you. I didn't know how to love you. Yeah. Maybe I wasn't showing love. I'm so sorry I didn't realize this. So give them the benefit of the doubt. That will really help your relationship.
It does help. It helps them a lot with that.
Yeah. So a lot of people are like, why did I come here? I think part of the exercise we talk about releasing things and maybe writing things down and seeing those patterns. Once one does that, and by the way, takes responsibility for doing it themselves, not looking outside themselves, not asking a teacher to do it for them. You got to do it yourself, right? It doesn't mean anything. But in that, you can see. Right? It's a big one.
Yourself. It's a big one. It's responsibility, taking responsibility.
No bypass here. No spiritual bypass. You got to do it
yourself. No
spiritual
bypass. Explain what a spiritual bypass is, because a lot of people may never have heard that term.
Spiritual bypass are situations people think if someone else, I can get through this in an easier way instead of going through the hard part of it. Whether it's dealing with a family issue, a friend issue, a relationship situation, instead of doing the hard work of forgiveness, of understanding, of taking one under the chin. They want us to do something like, I'm just going to meditate. It's going to go away.
Exactly. Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. You got to go. You got to walk through it. You got to walk through it to mean something.
Yes, you do.
A book to read. It can't be just meditation. It's got to be really worked on through.
Right.
I'll take 17,000 courses and it'll help. No, it won't,
Right.
because you still have to do the work. You might have the awareness of the courses and the knowledge and the wisdom from others and use that, but you got to go through yourself.
So one of the things that I love the most about you, James, is you're very down to earth.
I'm
Extremely spiritual and very down to earth. Yeah.
It's real. Let's not waste our time here. Come on,
No.
we got work to do, not waste our time.
We don't have time to waste.
You don't want to pass over. So here we go, everybody. You do not want to pass over and have your life review and say, oh, if only I knew better then, I would behave so differently. Guess what? Here's your knowledge. Now you behave differently.
Now you know.
Now you have the opportunity of awareness and wisdom, and you don't have to wait and go through life and have mistakes and do bad, negative things, or not or limited things. And now you'll know. And it also comes in, Kellee, I think, with blind faith. They want to have a strong sense of who they are and have faith in themselves.
Yes.
And realize nothing happens by accident. Everything's divinely led.
Right. Exactly.
And the more in our divine self, the easier it's going to be.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So, James, tell everybody, what do you have coming up? Because I know you've got.
Yes, I have a limited, I'm doing a monthly February 28th for Valentine's Day, a love connection. Just 10 people in readings. I'm doing, everybody gets a reading, and it's just 10 people. And that's going to be on the 28th, the day my mother passed over, which would be very interesting. And so I love doing these smaller gatherings because I don't know, I find it very interesting. A lot more comes through. Everybody gets something, and we all learn from each other. But that's the next thing.
And when a group comes together, often it's really energy specific for that group. It's really spirit. Always pulls out something fascinating. Oh, I love doing this
because spirit knows what's going to happen, and they're there for. I don't know about you, Kellee. There's overall themes that come through a lot too.
Oh, for sure, overall themes. In my work every week, there's an overall theme.
Is there?
There is. Yeah, yes, there is. It's the wildest thing.
And what are you working on, Kellee? Something coming up for you soon?
I also have it's called The Power of 10, and I don't know if I have any left. I maybe have 2 people left that I have, and that is on March 1st. So yours is February 28th, and mine's on March 1st. And I'll be doing readings. Everybody gets 10 minutes with me. So, but as a group, we'll come together. But I have to read, James, here's a comment. I have to read this from Lisa Jamuzzi, and she said, Kellee, I just finished 2 weeks on A Beautiful Noise musical in Fort Lauderdale. So A Beautiful Noise was Neil Diamond's Broadway play that he did that was based on his relationship, well, in life, and also with my mother. And she said, my mother was his therapist. And so it says, Lisa Renee Pitts, who is playing the role of Dr. Lou, my mom, inspired your mom, was wonderful. So I lent her your book. Oh, Lisa. I have chills, Lisa. Thank you, thank you so much, Lisa, for that, for letting me know.
Wow,
oh my gosh, how exciting! And you have also a lot of other things going on.
I have lots of things happening.
Lots going on.
Coming up. I'm doing TED Talk. I'm doing there's going to be the Shift Network, big organization, doing some classes with them. I'm going to be away in March. I'll be going to Europe in March on a vacation. So Kellee will be here on her own.
I will. We've got a couple of good shows planned, though.
And I haven't been on vacation in years, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go on vacation.
You should go.
And so that'll be fun. And then I have what else do I have going on? I have a wonderful one, and everybody should sign up for this if you can. In July, I'll be doing a retreat in Maui with a good friend of mine who's a wonderful healer, and it's body, mind, and spirit. And it's going to be yoga. It's going to be physical movements. It's going to be mind works. It's going to be mediumship. And that's going to be in Maui. And it's a retreat. It's limited to 20 people, I think. Wow. So that'll be all we can do. But that's my website, vanpraagh.com. That's something you should sign up for.
That's going to be exciting, everybody.
And you should probably go to my vanpraagh.com to look up the events, because there's several on there you might like.
Oh, good.
Well, thanks, Kellee. Thank you very much.
James. That was a wonderful show. Thanks, everybody. Take care, friends.
Okay. Bye.